Hello, and welcome back to the Triangle Business Podcast. I'm one of your co-stars, Joey Nattel, followed by,
I'm Scott Moore,
hey
and
y'all.
today we have Mike Triolo with us.
Today we have
Hey,
Mike with us. Hey man, thank you for joining us, Mike. And before we begin, I'd like to read off your little bio to say how awesome you are. So
sure.
Mike is an IT entrepreneur and an FAA ATP certified pilot based in Raleigh-Durham area. He owns and operates NerdsToGo, a managed service provider in Cary, North Carolina. Over his career, he's led and grown MSP teams driving strong revenue and client expansion, and built a reputation for delivering reliable, business-focused technology solutions to local organizations. In aviation, he's accumulated extensive flight experience, including time as a flight instructor, where he's coached pilots using practical safety first approach grounded in real world airline training. That's super cool. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having
Absolutely.
me, guys.
Yeah,
Of
great to have
course.
you, Mike. Um,
So,
actually, we didn't talk about this at all, but I'm going to throw a curveball at you. And the first thing I want to ask is, what mindsets or skill sets have you integrated from your experience as a pilot into being a small business entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean it's actually it's really helped me a lot. When I was a so unfortunately I had to change careers pretty quickly, right? I was a pilot and I lost my medical,
Uh,
and when you lose your medical, you no longer can fly. So I had to change careers very quickly, and I got into IT. I had a couple friends who were starting an IT business. I jumped in, and what I found was is at the time I was a captain for a Continental Express line, a regional jet. And when you go to training on a regional jet, you have to learn the systems of the jet. Like you go to training for 3 months, you get engrossed in the electrical, hydraulic, the engines, the pneumatic system. Every system you have to learn, and it being able to absorb that type of information really helped me translate over to IT because it's probably not as complex, but you've got to understand pretty complex things, and be able to figure things out. So it kind of helped me move over. I was able to figure things out pretty quickly. The other thing I learned, when you're as a crew, you're always taught to use all of your available resources to figure out a problem. And I find in the IT space, most people don't do that. Like they have their set ways and they're like, okay, I know how to fix this. But when they come up to an issue, they get frustrated and they don't really ask or help. Now we can ask AI. And I've taken that, which is called CRM, Cockpit Resource Management, which is using, if you're the captain, you're using the co-pilot, you're going to call dispatch. You can, there's manuals in the plane. So you're going to use all available information to figure out the issue if you're having an issue. And I've translated that over to IT. And then also just the process and when you're flying a plane, everything is a process, a checklist, a flow. And bringing that over kind of really helps me streamline operations at Nerds to Go.
Very cool.
beautiful. Cool.
Um, we were we were sort of talking before we got on about your business has evolved some in the last few years. And I think it is incumbent upon all of us as business owners to keep an eye out for how things in the market are changing, how things in our industry are changing, and make sure that we, try our best to stay ahead of that curve. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you've seen there.
Yeah, so Nerds to Go, when I originally got it, was really a B2C. They were focused on B2C, but they were kind of moving towards the B2B, but they were really B2C focused. And I was a pilot. I bought into a business up in Boston. We were a managed service provider up market from where we are right now. And then when I was able to get out of that, I sold my shares and we moved to Raleigh. And I was like, man, I really want to open a business, but when you're in the IT space up market, like you have to be on 24/7. Like they expect you to be
Right.
able to answer the phone on Saturday nights. You're constantly monitoring. I'm like, I really don't want to do that again because it's expensive, it's time consuming. So So the B2C space, I was like, hey, this is great. An IT shop will help small businesses, will help residential customers. And after the first year, I found out that the B2C space is just not where it's at. It's very difficult. There's a lot of, you can go on Thumbtack and Angie's List and hire guys for $40 an hour to do the work. And it just, unfortunately, I was like, I've got to pivot. I've got to get back into the B2B space, which is what I know best. So NerdsToGo was already kind of moving that way a little bit. I kind of just sped it up. So I took some of my knowledge from my previous business and we created our offering and went to market with it. We did, I trained my techs how to sell it. We would typically go on site and do on demand. I trained my techs to pitch managed services when they're out there. We did a lot of pay-per-click around it, email marketing, and it basically just snowballed into this, product that we have now. And now we're mostly reoccurring revenue, which is great because I start the month. I've already, we're going to invoice a certain amount every month, no matter what happens. So for us, from like a revenue standpoint, it's definitely smoothed it out. And it's, every month you add a little bit and you just grow because you're adding to your reoccurring revenue. So you're just growing month by month, and it's really worked over the last 3 years.
Hmm. Cool. I have a question for you.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
you've worked in two very high responsibility worlds, if you will, aviation and technology, and still technology. What have both of those industries taught you about trust and decision making?
Hmm. It's two. I mean, it's two different types of decision making.
Yeah.
When you're in aviation, if you have to make a decision, it's usually there's a time limit on it, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in a plane going 300 knots. Like you've
Huh.
got to make a decision pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that goes back to that CRM piece I talked about, cockpit resource management. Is
Right.
if you need to make a decision and you want to make sure you're making the right decision, you got to use all available resources to make that decision in a timely fashion, right?
Mhm.
Um, I mean, that look at Sully landing in the Hudson River, right? Like he had to make a decision really quick that he was going to land in the river. The
Mm.
reason he did that is because he knew if he turned towards Newark or if he turned towards LaGuardia, he wasn't going to make it because he was evaluating his sink rate, how fast he was going. So he's like, the best decision here is to land in the river.
Mm.
So I think it's, if you're going to make a decision, make sure you have all of the information available at the time to make that decision so you can make the best decision.
Yeah.
In IT, it's a little bit, you have more time, you have more available information. There's more resources for you to use.
Mhm.
And typically what I find in IT is if you have a problem, there's a really good chance that someone else is having that exact same problem that has the answer to it.
Yes.
Right. Right. So like you can like, and NerdsToGo, we have 40 different NerdsToGo. So like I always tell my guys, like if we have a problem, there's probably a pretty good chance that there's another NerdsToGo out there that's had the same problem. So instead of beating our head for days trying to figure this problem out, let's reach out to the network or reach out to somebody to see if we can get that problem fixed quicker.
Yes.
Uh, in aviation, it's definitely a little more serious because if there's an issue that goes bad, I mean, you have lives at stake, and in your own lives at stake. In IT, I mean, it is serious, but for the most part, hopefully, no one's going to die, right? So you have
Yeah.
more time to make those decisions.
Yeah.
But they are important and can be costly because if it's a cybersecurity and you're working with a large business, I mean, you don't want their information or their data to get hacked.
That's
You know,
good.
Joey, it's
Yeah.
really interesting that answer because Mike, just coincidentally, last week, one of the things that entered the conversation Joey and I were having was about franchises and about, a lot of entrepreneurs are very much like in the mindset of like the whole reason I work for myself is so I can do it my way. But
Mhm.
I was suggesting that like one of the advantages of franchises is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel because lots of other people have already invented that wheel. And the
Right.
example you just gave was like another reason why somebody might want to be a franchise model, which is like you have lots of other, shoulder to shoulder franchisees who are out there doing what you're doing and that they may have already figured out a way to solve a problem is a good reason to add to that. So
Yeah,
just interesting little thought from our recent episode.
I love that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the franchise. The reason I got into the franchise is because I soon realized when I started owning a business that I know nothing about marketing. Like marketing to me, you tell me something works, I'm going to be like, no way, and it'll work, and I'll be the exact opposite. I'll be like, this is going to work, and it doesn't work. Like I am kryptonite to marketing. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I got into the franchise, because I knew I needed some help on like the sales marketing front.
Yeah.
And it has worked out. They definitely have, like, they know, like, they're running pay-per-click ads in 40 different markets, right? Like they're going to know what works and what doesn't work, instead of me having to trial and error all these different things. They're going to be like, nope, let's run this ad. This is the time. This is the average price of a ticket. This is how many leads you can expect. So from that standpoint, the franchise has definitely been invaluable.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Love that. I want to switch back to more of the IT and cybersecurity piece here is what would you say in your experience lately is the biggest technology or cybersecurity mistake you see small businesses make right now that they don't realize is risky?
Um, I think there's a perception in small business that IT should have an ROI, meaning that cyber, like, so I run into businesses and they're like, oh, if I'm going to spend $1,000 a month on IT, what's my ROI on it? And you can't think of IT that way, right?
Yeah.
Because cybersecurity is not an ROI. There's no return on investment.
Yeah.
The return, it's an insurance policy, right? Like you're basically, it's more than an insurance policy, but a large business has an IT department, right, where they're going to be probably doing some innovation, doing custom apps, software development. If you're a technology driven company, you're going to be innovating, right? But for like a construction company, unfortunately, I can help make you more efficient with IT. I can help streamline processes, but the cybersecurity piece of it is basically just a cost to make sure you're protected, right? Like you need to have endpoint protection, you need to have email security, you need to have your stuff backed up. There's no ROI on a backup. Like I don't know if someone can figure that out. I don't know what it is, but I can't show you an ROI on a backup. It's a cost to make sure your data is backed up. So if it gets deleted, an employee deletes it, you get hacked, I can restore it, right? So I mean, I guess there is an ROI if you look at it from like existentially, like the cost of you losing all your data versus me backing it up. There's some ROI there, but it's not like a direct correlation on it. The other thing is small businesses, which is crazy. They're like, oh, I'm a small business, I'm not going to be a target. I got news for you. You're a target because you are a small business, right? These hackers are going to target small businesses because they know that most of them don't have the right security or firewalls or training in place. So they're going to target small businesses.
Interesting.
That's really interesting about how people are expecting IT to have a ROI. I mean, like, I haven't heard that specific example before, but like one of the things I learned in the early days as a business coach is that confusing things that are should be an expense with things that should be a revenue stream is one of the greatest plagues that small business owners struggle with. It's like, these are things I derive money from, and these are things I spend money on, and those should be two separate things. And I mean, like, marketing has an ROI, but like treating your marketing event like it ought to be producing money by itself is usually like a pitfall people will stumble into. So that's really interesting to hear it. It would never have occurred to me that people might occur or might think of IT as supposed to be generating money.
Yeah, I've run into it a bunch in the last 6 months, a year, where they'll be like, oh, I spend money on pay-per-click and it generates this, or I spend money on marketing, or my website drives leads. If I pay you guys $800 a month, what type of revenue can I expect, or where's the ROI on it? And I'm like, I don't know how to answer that question.
You can expect for your data not to be lost, or for your website
Right.
not to be down for days or weeks at a time. Or
yeah, and then I'll be like, well, we're going to be monitoring and manage everything. We have 24/7. We partner with companies that do 24/7 security monitoring, and we're going to be backing everything up. And and all of this stuff. So I don't know, to your point, like there are expenses and there are things that generate income and then there are expenses. So I think I don't know where people get this idea or small business owners get this idea from. But yeah.
Well, I mean, sometimes people are just in a lot of scarcity, especially in the early days of starting a business when they don't have the client base that they're hoping to
Yeah,
get, or they've already experienced like a ton of expenses just getting it set up. And then like, oh, one more thing I got to spend money on. So
I
like, I
know.
kind of get it, but if you can't get over that hump, then you're probably not going to make it anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Joey, it seemed like you had another question. I'll kick it back to
Yeah,
you.
kind of similar going back to the aviation piece here. Another good one is one thing I've noticed with entrepreneurs is they often wait too long before asking for help. In aviation, that can be dangerous, as you said. How do you think
Yeah.
egos show up differently in the cockpit versus business leadership?
Man, so back in the I still think the egos in the cockpit is an issue with some foreign. So in the United States, I think we've gotten away from it. We have the NTSB in the United States. So anytime there's an accident, they investigate and they come up with recommendations. Since the 1980s, there's a very famous accident in the 80s. I can't remember what it was from, where like the co-pilot knew the plane was going to crash, but the captain didn't ask him or didn't believe him. I think it was Japanese Airlines.
Mhm.
The co-pilot lived, and they interviewed the co-pilot and they're like, well, how come you didn't say anything? And he was like, well, the captain told me he knew what he was doing, so didn't want to say anything. I was afraid to offend him, right? Like that existed in aviation for a very long time, where you had
Mhm.
this like captain that was on this like pedestal that he could do no wrong. I think since like especially when I got into it, like it's definitely been beaten out. You're trained as a co-pilot. Now in aviation you alternate legs. So there's a flying pilot and a non-flying pilot, and
Mhm.
you alternate. So the first leg I'll fly, and then you do the radios and all the checklists, and then the next leg the co-pilot would fly, and I'll do the radios. Right. So you're splitting duties between the both of you, alternating legs. So you're both getting the same experience. But you're trained now to this point where like you're like if you're the captain and you don't ask for help, like you're going to get reported. Like you're not going to have your job.
Yeah.
You have to do it, right? So I think the ego thing has been kind of beaten out of the aviation scene. Now I know it does still exist in foreign carriers. You go to some of these foreign carriers where it's not that way. There's
Yeah.
definitely like a hierarchy. I think it's a little bit different. Um, you know, and there used to be that it used to be prestigious to be a pilot at one point in time. I don't know if that is the way anymore. Like now you're like, you're just a bus driver. You fly a big bus. I don't know. I've been out of it for a while.
Yeah.
Um, in business, I it's I really haven't. I do think you see people with egos. I mean, the worst type of people with egos are the ones that think they know something. They've never actually run a business or grown a business or been
Yes.
successful in business, and they have these ideas about a business, right? And they have
Yeah.
these egos, or they took a course online and now they think they're experts at something.
Yes.
But I think any really successful business owner, I mean, unless you're like Elon Musk or one of these guys, I don't think you can have an ego and be successful. Like I think it's really hard to be successful and have an ego like that, because there's so many times that you've I mean most successful business owners have failed, right, at something, or
Right.
multiple businesses, right, and they're on their third or fourth business. It's hard to
Yeah.
have an ego when that's happened to you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And what
I
you're
mean,
just,
it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, which
yes,
means,
I was just about to say.
there's an unfortunate bias that your inexperience with something makes you even more confident in your opinions about that thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would imagine, Mike, I mean, you must be in a position frequently, especially at the start of an engagement with a B2B client, where you're like, you know, I'm looking at your system and there are some significant problems or holes with how you've set it up. And so, like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're going to need to fix or change some things about how this is set up. And like Joey and I are in the same position as business coaches where we talk to somebody and we're like, so, hey, your marketing is like all word of mouth, which is great, but that's not really a system. And having something that's, just as an example, and needing to be the bearer of bad news. Do you feel like that you've learned like techniques to let them, deliver the news a little bit more gently over the years, or?
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't go in there and be like, listen, this all sucks. Like, we
Yeah.
gotta rip this, we gotta rip this out, or, but I do have, to be honest, most small businesses we go in, we're like, it's 50-50. Some already have an IT provider, some don't. I would say some are like they have like an office administrator doing the work or the owners doing the work, and they've read something online and they've got it mostly there. So yeah, you definitely have to be tactful, be like, hey, it's great that you have antivirus, but who's like actually watching it if something happens? Oh, nobody. Well, what's the point of it then? Like it'll block certain stuff, but sometimes it'll alert people. What do you do if it gets an alert? Wouldn't it be great if we were watching it? We have our own product. So, you definitely, yeah, for sure, you have to go in and make sure that you don't step on anybody's ego. But for the most part, people come to us and be like, listen, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need help. Like that's
Yeah.
90% of the customers, or it's like somebody, we just, picked up a contracting company where the office administrator was doing the work. And she was like, listen, I have no idea. They've thrown this on me. I know what I'm doing. I need you guys to help. And, we go in and, one of the things when that happens is you got like an office administrator doing IT, they may be spending 20 hours a week doing IT because they don't know what they're doing. Right. So when I come in, I'm like, I'm going to free up 20 hours of your week. You may be spending an hour a week on it now, just managing us and us talking to you. But the rest of that time, you're going to regain to do what you need to do, right? Same thing with an owner of a business if they're doing the IT. So, I guess there's your ROI.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I love that you're saying that because I do agree. My experience is the same as yours, Mike, which is most business owners have screwed some, had a business that failed, or like I didn't have one that failed. I just had one that I never really enjoyed, and I realized if I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing this, I probably should be doing something that I care about. And so a lot of times I don't encounter the ego with the business owner, but sometimes like one tier down from there, there's
Mm,
somebody who's like an office administrator, or they have a marketing position or something in the company, and they're worried that by the business coach or the outside expert in your case coming in, that it means they're not as important anymore, or they could be at risk of losing their job because an outsourced company is helping with it. And
mm,
that's where sometimes you meet that resistance, and I find you just have to gain the trust of that person. I'm not here to tell you how to do what you're doing. I'm just here to make your life better and easier and free up a bunch of your time.
right.
And so, if we do our jobs well at that, hopefully we get them on board and then everything works better, smoother. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's funny because I use Apollo. You guys ever heard of Apollo.io? It's like an email
Yeah.
outreach.
Yeah.
It's an email outreach, right? So basically you can create like, email drip campaigns. And one of my campaigns is like, if you're an office administrator and owner spending time on IT, like let me free up your time. And that's one of the ones that I get the most responses from. Like that, like people are like, what? Like, tell me all you can do. Because we play in the, I would say I call it the micro small business. Like we're under 50 users, under 50 employees. So a lot of the times the owner is wearing multiple hats, or they have an office administrator. So we understand price. I understand that price is sensitive when you're that size. So we're pretty cost effective, and we're very competitive in our pricing. So we can go into a 10 user, 12 user company for $750, $1,000 a month to manage your IT, right? And like 12 grand a year, I can do all your IT. It's a pretty
Right.
reasonable price.
Yeah. And if the company is that size, that ought to be like the tiniest fraction of their annual budget.
That's right. Yeah.
Very cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Joey, what else you got?
I have another question for you. What is a risk you took in business that scared you at the time but changed everything for the better?
I guess it would be I guess it would be it was when I lost my medical as a pilot, and I was working as with my buddies were starting an IT company, and my brain is more technical, right? Like I'm not I wouldn't say I'm a extrovert. Like I'm not into I'm just that's not my style. Um, but my two business partners, one was worked at Microsoft, the other one was a network engineer. And as we started to grow, they're like, "Hey, we want you to move into sales." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "This like I am not a sales. Like I had never done sales before in my life. I had never thought about sales. I was not interested in it. Like the idea of going into like a BNI meeting or a chamber meeting and having to meet 50 people. Like I wasn't petrified of it. It was just like, I don't want to do that. Like that brings me no pleasure. Right. Um, but these guys were trained IT guys. I was just either going to have to go and do this IT route, which was, learn networking and go to school, or do this sales role. And we needed a salesperson at the time. Like it was either we go hire somebody, which we really couldn't afford, or I had to do it. So I kind of stepped into this sales role. Um, and man, I found out I was really damn good at it. I was pretty stinking good at it. Right.
Yeah.
And I actually liked it. And at the time it felt like a risk, because I was like, you don't want to fail. Like you don't want to do something you don't like, or you don't think you're going to like, or you think you're going to fail at.
Mhm.
And it took me 6 months, a year to get up to speed, but once I was up to speed, man, I was jamming. Like we were humming. I mean, we grew. I mean, this was outside of Boston. We went from probably 500 grand a year to 5 million a year in like 3 years.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, we grew fast. We grew really fast. And I found out I actually do enjoy part of this. I don't enjoy all of sales, but there are definitely parts of it I really enjoy, and I think I'm good at, or parts of it that I don't enjoy, I'm just not good at. But that's it. It also gave me confidence. Once you learn something and you figure out you can do it, it gives you confidence. And that's how we grew. We got bigger and bigger deals, bigger clients, and
Mhm.
it was a risk for me because I didn't honestly think I was going to be successful at it.
Yeah,
Nice.
very cool. I love that. Another
Yeah.
question.
What's the next phase for Nerds to Go in our market here in the Triangle? Like where are you headed next?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to move up market. I think we can take, as you grow the business, you realize you can do more and more.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of like having a lot of different products, but we can add to our product set,
Mm.
right? So like our offering, our managed IT offering, we add different products as clients' expectations grow. We pick up different clients, so we bundle it all into this monitoring, management, antivirus, backup, email security. We offer cybersecurity training awareness now, Microsoft 365 security monitoring. So it's just bundled services that we're adding, and that gives us the ability to, I think, take on a little bit more complex customers. I'm a big fan of keeping like all of our customers fit into our stack. Like I don't want to have one-off customers because it just ruins our process, right? So if I have a one-off customer here and there, then all of a sudden we have to have a different process. So we know our customer, we know our lane, we know what we offer, we know how to deploy it, we know how to manage it. Now, occasionally we'll add something, we'll talk about it, we'll figure out how to bundle it, we'll figure everything out, and then we add it in, right? But when I add it in, I usually roll it out for everybody. Like, hey, we're adding security monitoring for Microsoft. Okay, everybody's going to get it. Your price is going to go up, whatever amount, whatever. So we are, getting back to the sales, as much as I love it. I think in order for me to grow, I need to hire salespeople. So right now I do the sales. I have 3 techs. So my next phase is I've got to hire outside salespeople. And I'm sure, Scott, you know this. This is the hardest thing ever had to hire for.
Yep. We talk
So
about
much,
it all the time.
it's so much easier. Like I could hire a tech in 2 weeks. Like I have tons of applications. I can interview them. Easy. Saying that I couldn't replace my staff. My staff has been here a very long time. We don't have a lot of turnover. They've been here 5 years since I've opened, pretty much. Um, but this hiring a salesperson, like I've had like 50 interviews, and I just can't find anybody that they either want to be paid like they're working at IBM, or they just have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah. It's the we Joe and I talk about this very frequently on the podcast, and I talk about it very frequently in public too, which is usually small businesses hit either the sales cap, which is like, as the owner, this is as much as I can reasonably sell to the team I have of this size. And they cap out there, or they have a management cap where the owner has no formal management training, and there starts to be so many people in the organization that they can't
We can't manage
deal
it
with
all.
all that, and then you need an office manager kind of role. But yeah, and hiring that sales position can be super difficult because you've become really good at it, because you had to, or else your business wouldn't have gotten to this point. And so I sympathize. It happens very frequently.
Yeah,
You know,
and I don't know if I'm being too picky or too particular or what, but it's just hard. The other thing that's crazy is I will like I've had two guys that have been here 5 years, and then we have another guy that we hired like a year and a half ago, and he's still here. Um, but I constantly have an ad running for a technician. I would just interview like one a month, just in case somebody decides to leave. I have if I schedule an interview, that guy is 95% chance he's going to show up on the video call.
yeah,
If I schedule 5 interviews with salespeople, I'm lucky if 2 show up to the call.
interesting,
Interesting.
interesting.
It's weird, right? Like it's like the technical guys, they're going to be there. The sales guys, they just flake out. They won't even tell you. They're just like they just won't show up.
Interesting.
Well, look, we're here to talk about you, but I will
Yeah.
say this much. Like, I've been supporting clients with hiring process for 10 years. And one of the things that I've always recommended is, so I'll do like pre-interview calls with their prospects, and just like a 15-minute phone call to ask key
Yep.
questions to qualify people to go have a
Yep.
face-to-face interview or an online interview with. And if they don't show up for the pre-interview call, or if they are late to the pre-interview call, then we don't bother scheduling them for the
Yeah. Yeah. I do the same thing. Yeah.
um well, cool. Uh I feel like we could just sit here and talk with you all day, Mike, but
Yes.
we
Let's
do have
keep
to.
going, man. I got
I
time.
mean,
Let's keep going.
we got to land the plane at some point, as you well know.
I
We
got
do.
two
Yeah, Joey,
questions
go ahead, go
left.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two
Okay, good.
questions. One, we have a tradition on the podcast where we ask a question to the guest, or the previous guest asked you a question, and I'll get to that in a moment. But one question I like to ask as well is like, is there anything we didn't talk about that you wish we talked about?
No, I think we had some pretty good conversations on stuff there.
Cool.
No, not that nothing that comes to mind.
Okay, beautiful. Well, then I'll ask.
Well, before we jump to the last thing, Joey, I just want to say this. Like, Mike, one of the reasons I was really excited about having you on is because I do I want people to hear like a friendly voice in the world of tech,
Yeah.
that like would be willing to we were talking earlier about hand holding, right? Like, I mean, I'm somebody that my business operates on a scale that I haven't had to use a ton of technology, but like, even still, more and more and more, I'm leaning into ways that this can make my business more successful and to make me more of an asset to my clients. But like, having somebody that they could reach out to and say, I think maybe we need to hire you, or even just that, for them to have somebody to say, I don't know what I don't know, and
Yeah.
I need some highly educated professional eyeballs to look at what we have going on and suggest some things we could be doing better, or like some vulnerabilities that we don't even know we have. I'm really glad to know you and to have you, kind of in my circle of people. And I've recommended you to a few of like micro business owners who are just like, I got to get my computer repaired. Where can I take it? I'm like, take it to Mike, take it to
Yeah.
Nerds to Go. I've brought my computer there to be fixed before. Your team did a great job. So I'm so glad because we talk about a lot of like visionary and philosophical ideas and mindset ideas and stuff like that. But like we're doing it on Zoom. We're doing it by a computer. And at some point, we have to face the reality that most of us are not experts in that field. So I'm super
That's
happy
right.
to have you in my
Yeah.
circle of people.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
And without further
all right,
ado,
Joey, what's our question from our last guest?
last guest question for you is how do you use AI for work and for fun?
So, all right. Uh, so I mean, we talked about this before, so
We did.
but I'll explain it again.
For sure.
So for work, what I find is that um, for me, I use it to integrate apps that don't natively talk to each other. Um, so an example is I have a lead generating system, a system that records all my leads. So I use a digital marketing company. A lead comes in, whether it's phone, email, text, chat. It There's a dashboard I can go into to see if it's organic, paid, which type of lead. It has a score, who the tech is who responded to them. If it's a phone call, it's actually a summary of the phone call. I could listen to the phone call if I wanted to. Um, which campaign? It's tons and tons of information. Well, that system does not talk to my invoicing and ticketing system, so I have no way of knowing which leads actually convert to customers. And I'd have to do this manual process, or I'd have to export the list for the month, match it to the customers in my system. Sometimes the lead only comes through as a phone number, so I got to then match the phone number to a company, go look up the invoice, and I put together the spreadsheet, and it would take me a couple hours a week to do this. So I use Perplexity, which is it's an aggregator basically. It has multiple systems it uses OpenAI, it uses Claude, it uses DeepSeek, it uses a bunch of them, and then based on your question, it'll pick in Gemini, it'll pick which one is the appropriate one. Um, and so I connected these two systems together, and now I just ask it to match it, and it gives me, the leads that converted, the ROI, how much it knows how much I spent, it knows how much the average ticket was, it knows which tech answered the phone, tells me which ones have the best conversion rates. Like it printed out a 5-page report of information I wouldn't have normally had, or well, I definitely wouldn't have had all the information. I would have just had the basic information. This thing's giving me information that it's deriving from the information that I'm giving it. Personally, yeah, I mean, I definitely use it a lot. I'm big into cryptocurrency, so I use it a lot with analysis of trends and market timing. It's not always correct. As you know, it'll hallucinate or give you
Yes.
wrong answers.
Yes.
I actually just recently found out that Perplexity has it's got a health app that it'll actually connect into your health records. So the AI will connect into my chart, and it'll pull all the information from my chart, and it'll analyze your lab results for you, like tell you information on
Whoa.
like your last test. Like it's amazing the information you can pull from it.
Wow.
It'll remind me when I need to go get a checkup. It's crazy. It's like, hey, I saw you have high cholesterol, and da 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 da. Have you thought about losing some weight or doing this? So it's pretty cool the things you can do with it.
I didn't know you could do that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Perplexity has these skills, these
Yeah.
pre-made skills, and you can like it has a QuickBooks Online.
Yeah.
It's got like 300 of them. Like it'll connect into everything you possibly want, and it'll pull information. You can create custom skills. So if there's not a skill, which is basically a connector, you can
Mhm.
basically describe to Perplexity like, "Hey, I have this system here and this system here. This is what I want to do."
Yep.
It'll go search the web, find out if there's APIs for those apps, and
Mhm.
then read the API instructions, and then tell you the information it needs to access the API.
That's so cool.
It's amazing.
I
It's
love
absolutely
that.
amazing. Like QuickBooks, I don't go into QuickBooks anymore online. I just ask Perplexity, like, hey,
Yeah.
show me, like, give me a chart of our managed services growth over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
30 seconds later, it has a chart. Or show me a P&L. It'll pull all the information.
Yeah. That's really cool. I mostly use ChatGPT, but I'll look into that with Perplexity as well. That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah, as somebody who's a total newbie and just starting to use AI more, like that was already like my first decision I need to make is like which one of these do I want to really start focusing on using? And knowing that like maybe you don't have to pick, just use one that aggregates the best results from all of them. So
Yes.
Yeah, Perplexity has a paid. So I would say either, no matter which one you want to do a paid version.
okay.
In theory, the paid version silos your data. If you go with the free version, it apparently doesn't.
Nope.
And if you
Does
if you go with the free version, it won't do the connectors. Like you need to have the paid version to connect into apps, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you want that if you want to put guardrails on your data.
Yeah.
So I do like Perplexity. Like it for me is the best one going right now.
Last I've read, it has the lowest percent. This was like last year, 2 years ago. It has the lowest percentage of hallucinations compared to the other ones. I don't know if that's still true, but
Which one?
Perplexity.
Well, Perplexity it doesn't have its own native AI. So like whatever you ask it, it's going to go either use Claude,
Hmm.
OpenAI, or Gemini. So probably because it's picking the correct one, it has the least amount of hallucinations.
Makes
But
Yeah,
sense.
like if
because
you're
they
going to
all
do like
probably
if you're going to do video and pictures, it uses Gemini. If you're going to
Right.
just use basic chat, it uses OpenAI. If you're going to do like integrations and coding, it uses Claude. Like it's picking the one that it thinks is best.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's cool stuff. I mean, the only problem with it is you get Perplexity. You buy credits every month. So like if you're just doing a basic chat and not using Perplexity Computer, I don't think it costs any credits. But when you start to do integrations, so one of the other things I did is I connected it into Facebook.
Hmm.
So NerdsToGo doesn't post on our Facebook page. I have to post my own stuff on my business Facebook page.
Yep.
And once again, back to the marketing thing, I am horrible at it. Like I have no idea what to post, right?
Yes.
So I gave it access to my business profile through Facebook. And I told it, I said, every Thursday, I want you to go to our website, read the most common blog, then look up small business IT issues, and then come up with a post and post it automatically on my Facebook page. And it does it every Thursday now. It runs it by me. I say, yep. And then it posts a picture and some text.
That's amazing. I love that.
what a
It's
time
crazy,
to be
right?
alive.
It's
It's
crazy.
great. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for being our guest on the show. It was a joy to talk to you. And for
Yeah.
those audience members who are listening, if you like what you hear here, go reach out to Mike and talk to him. He's a pretty awesome dude. I'll put a link to his services, websites, whatever social medias you want in the show notes. And if you like this episode and want to listen to more, give us a like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you want to hear more of. We're looking for guests, and you might be the next one. So let us know if you want to join us. Tune in next time, y'all. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.